All right, for our next session, we have joining us Denney Kwok from Mento Labs, Chief Product Officer. Denney, how we doing today, man?
Hey Drew, doing great. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's been an exciting session so far. Excited to dive into just your role at Mento Labs. There's so much buzz around the company itself. I've heard so many amazing things, but this is actually my first time getting a chance to dive a little deeper into Mento. So why don't we start with, we'll get to the involvement specifically on the FX side within this report, but maybe we start with your role at Mento and just a little bit about Mento for those who don't know what the company does.
So super high level, Mento is a stablecoin platform and powers on-chain FX infrastructure. I'm the product officer here, as you mentioned. I do everything from build product, also to building partnerships and understanding, how our users can benefit, how we can reach new users and whatnot. So do a little bit of everything here. We're a scrappy, lean team. A little bit more about Mento. We have 15 local stablecoins live, everything from the G7 currencies all the way to some of the more exotic long-tail emerging market currencies across Africa, Latin America, Asia, and what have you. And really the real magic of Mento is that we kind of highlighted it in the report, but we believe that the missing piece to enabling FX on chain is what we call the FPMM infrastructure, fixed price market makers. Different to how AMM works, FPMs allow you to trade at the real world FX rate, which isn't susceptible to, pools being unbalanced in the AMM construct, which is more natural for, crypto-based assets where price discovery happens on chain. If you have, two currencies, you can't really have price discovery on chain because if you can't trade a Brazilian real for, I believe it's around 5.5 USD. You really have no utility when there's huge slippage. If you can only get a USD for 6.5 or 7.5 Brazilian real, then it kind of breaks the use case for those stable coins, right? So what we're doing is providing this FX infrastructure, allowing users, traders to really access FX rates with stable coins all on chain, powering, a plethora of use cases from payments to hedging to arbitrage to just straight up directional FX trading strategies.
Tell me a little bit about peeling back some of those use cases specifically. You said you have 15 of these now. These are on-chain representations of stablecoins backed to all the different fiat currencies, major fiat currencies that really enable some of these use cases. Let's just, for you right now, I'd love to unpack maybe some of the teams or companies that are using this, some of the use cases, those couple that you mentioned, like what perhaps give us like a before and after Mento, like what was kind of happening before you have all of these fiat currencies represented on chain, and then now what is possible with something like Mento for one, maybe one or all of those use cases would be really interesting.
Yeah, let me start by kind of laying the land of what was before this kind of infrastructure existed on chain. There have been a stable of stable, quote unquote, no pun intended, a stable of non-USD stable coins out there for the last couple of years. But really the use case that they've been used for to date has really just been on and off ramping because there is no good price discovery mechanism on chain. So you weren't really able to swap, let's say a Japanese yen stablecoin for a US dollar stablecoin on chain without having that reference price, right? So none of this was really able to be facilitated until, we kind of launched this FX infrastructure where you do have those rates come on chain. Through our Oracle network, we have three and always expanding our Oracle providers to have the best rates possible, where we take kind of the mid spread from different FX desks across the world to bring that on chain. So we partner with teams, such as Chainlink, Redstone, and we also have our own in-house built oracles. Now, with that, this opens up a whole new world of use cases, like I had mentioned. Um, you know, thinking about implementing FX trading strategies, all staying on chain without having to use, TradFi rails, which is what we're all building towards, right? Traders, prop shops, market makers can all access rates, hedge on chain, or take, weighted directional bets on different currencies without having to kind of on and off ramp and having those stablecoin rails power it on chain. A really big and exciting use case that we're hearing a lot now in the stablecoin world is, how payments can be powered by stablecoins, especially cross-border payments. There's a lot of teams building around this, names that you guys all probably have heard of, but a lot of that is facilitated through USD denominated stablecoins. So, some of the pain points that you have there is you're exposed to kind of the conversion rates on both ends of the transaction when you make the payment on the sender side and on the receiver side. You still have to rely on TradFi rails with the USD denominated stablecoins. Now, imagine a world where you just have two currencies. So just using two that I referenced earlier, if you're making a payment from Brazil to Japan or vice versa, and you're a company, if you have those tokens all on chain, stablecoins all on chain, and you have the exchange rate all on chain, you could facilitate that transaction and kind of leverage all the benefits of being on chain, instant settlement, the real rates, and what have you, all done without having to really expose yourself to the TradFi banking rails until you're ready to off ramp. And this powers a lot of other things like global payroll, remittances is another big thing that we've been working through. So, yeah, a lot of things that can be built on top of this. And I think another exciting thing is you're seeing all these teams build up kind of neobanks or crypto bank type applications within their super apps. So, really cool stuff being innovated on in this space and sector.
The lack of having something like this historically, or something like this be extremely popular or widely available, in my mind has prevented more stablecoins from it just being able to exist natively on chain, because you don't have the parity or the infrastructure to just keep things in stables. But now it's like, in my view, this really does create a foundational layer, where, because of folks like Mento, you guys can actually allow for this global economy that is, like we talked with Kevin from Borderless before
Yeah.
this, of just, the world of fiat money in people's minds and people's lives, and the governments around the world who are going to be specifically wanting fiat currencies to continue to exist independently. Like, that's not going away with stablecoins. So the infrastructure that this provides is so interesting. Um, are you seeing, like, walk us through, like, a couple questions for you, like,
Yeah.
what are the most difficult parts about getting this type of infrastructure set up effectively, like on the product side, given your role? What are some of those key hurdles that you guys have had to face to stand up something so foundational like this?
Um, I think it's a couple of things. One is really getting the partnerships in place. Like, we are kind of lower level on the stack of the technology stack for empowering this rail, right? Like, we are the kind of pricing mechanism. We also issue the stable coins, but we really see ourselves as the FX layer for this whole broader like stable coin FX economy. So really it's when you're building something new in a space that is unfamiliar to many people, it's really about like standing up the partnerships and getting that ecosystem and that flywheel that we're all familiar with. For example, if you're like an L1 chain or an L2 chain that's like just starting to launch, you have to invest all this time, effort, and money into building, like the DeFi ecosystem, building all the ecosystem applications and everything, and building up users. There's a lot of corollaries to that in building this like stablecoin payments, FX infrastructure where you have to go all the way through this like complex payment stack. There's a reason why, Visa, Amex, MasterCard have had their moat for, decades upon decades. They built this like complex infrastructure and network that has just stood the test of time. And standing that up is, no easy feat. And we're just hammering at that day after day.
What you mentioned a few of these partners that you have selected in the early phases. I think Redstone, Chainlink. Speak a little bit to how you work with those types of companies and what they unlock for you. It seems like those are really core pieces to making this puzzle work.
Yeah. How we bring these rates on chain, oracles are kind of the cornerstone or bedrock of a lot of pretty much every, you know, application built on chain. Every dApp pretty much needs it in some way, shape, or form. The integration that we built is kind of unique in the sense that we're bringing kind of these FX rates from all over the world, bringing that on chain in like a push manner where we have these rates available at every given time. So you can, any given time, so you can reference them. And then as users do swaps and get quotes, like get they can access the rates that only institutions typically can access. You know, like if you're traveling and going to, I don't know, let's just say like Brazil, as in I'm an American. When you go to Brazil, you have to either go to like the currency desk at the airport or a money changer or a bank or an ATM. And then you're subject
That's
to
where
those
my
like wide
mind. That's
spreads.
where in this conversation so far. That's where my mind has gone. Is just like I think that's
Yeah.
for a lot of at least Americans, the felt experience of like FX played out in real time. But yeah, I think
I think we can
that's a
all
great good
relate
framework.
I think we can all relate to going to the ATM, throwing your debit card in there, and then saying, accept this like 10% plus spread
It's
exchange rate.
terrible. I mean,
And you
it
just
makes
feel
I
like
think
you're being gutted.
some of the most frustrating moments of travel internationally have to do with that FX desk at the airport. I think everyone, like hundreds of people throughout the day, just like experience how frustrating the traditional fiat stack can be. And I think the price gouging and unfairness that you're talking about is so felt in those experiences. But like, tell us a little bit about more of that broader opportunity here. Like this is not just something that tourists are feeling at the
Yeah.
airports. This is a kind of a structural FX problem globally. When you guys think about the opportunity, is that sort of how you think about it?
Yeah, completely. And we're only one piece of the puzzle, and talking about like building up that ecosystem, I think there's many critical partners that we work with today or haven't even started working with that are critical to building this like global infrastructure, right? Like I mentioned, most people in the world of like the 7 or 8 billion people, whatever it is now, can't access, institutional bank level rates that you have at like, Citibank or Standard Charter or any of these international banks that institutions have. What these Oracle partners allow for us to do, and like the magic of blockchain rails, is we just bring those rates on chain, and with our kind of FX swapping pricing mechanism, anyone with a wallet and an internet connection can access those rates, and we really democratize that access. Um, so, to your question, like walking through like a real life scenario, some of our team has gone out to Africa for various conferences or various grassroots outreach. What you can do is, as an like American, I have like a US dollar stable coin. What I can do is immediately swap that for let's say you're going to Kenya and a Kenyan shilling. We have a partnership. We have an exclusive partnership with Opera MiniPay. You can directly off ramp that Kenyan shilling into Opera MiniPay, use Opera MiniPay to pay for water, pay for a cab, or whatever, what have you. Mobile money is a really big form of payment there, similar to, as Americans, we have Venmo, we have PayPal and whatnot. Mobile money is really big there. So you can immediately off ramp that and spend it directly at vendors or stores in person, all without leaving your phone and all without having to hit that dreaded ATM machine or FX desk. So yeah, I think it's really powerful. That and like many like small businesses can access this now too, especially if they have commerce cross border. It just enables so much when you can open up the doors of what was gated institutional access.
Yeah, I think actually we've met with Charles now a couple times for our
Yeah,
podcast,
Charles is great.
and
Great partner of ours.
we've yeah, I mean, I'm extremely excited for MiniPay and just what they've done. So if I'm understanding this, so Mento will work with MiniPay specifically in these regions where you all have these fiat backed stable coins, embed them essentially within this mobile money experience on Opera, and then Opera can kind of trust and use Mento's wherever these localized currencies are needed. They can use Mento's stable coins to, kind of check off that box for their users.
Look, Opera MiniPay has enabled. They have 9 million users now globally. They've enabled a couple of things. One key thing, and really, I think what ignited the growth of stablecoins is giving users in emerging markets access to dollars. So any user on MiniPay can access CUSD, which is our USD stablecoin on Cello, through MiniPay, and save in dollars when they're facing hyperinflation in different parts of Africa, Latin America, or what country you have. We also have a native Mento dApp within the MiniPay application where they can facilitate many of these swaps, and by that, they can access all the different currencies that are available in their market or in other markets. For example, if they want to send money to or stable coins to a friend or family in another country. And then the magic of kind of MiniPay is that they've integrated all these on and off ramps globally so that you have real world utility when you want to or need to spend that in real life. Because at the end of the day, like you mentioned earlier, I don't think there's going to be, I personally don't believe there's going to be a world where it's only crypto rails and it's only stable coins or it's only fiat. I think there's going to be kind of this like happy medium and marriage between the two where hopefully we see some like really ubiquitous and seamless user experiences where you kind of can't tell the difference. I think that'd be a magical world.
Yeah. So diving in really quick to the actual report itself,
Yeah.
this was definitely something you guys were focused on specifically within the stablecoin playbook, on-chain FX, converting stablecoins into local currency. For those who are listening and a part of this session, thinking about this as they're building, what would be the really core takeaway that people need, builders specifically who are architecting these types of stablecoin powered payment applications or cross-border payment use cases here? Like, what sort of framework or what are some of these learnings as you talk with builders and you're helping other folks, who might be reading this report? What are some of the things that you would impart on them as we kind of close here and round out our conversation?
Yeah, I think like there's a lot to be done and built around like the financialization of applications and use cases. I actually spent a lot of time building product at Google prior to my journey into Web3 and building a lot of consumer products there. There's a host of these like super apps or neobanks that are being developed, and I think a lot of them can really, really benefit from using blockchain rails and using stablecoins in particular to power a lot of these use cases. Really, really cool ones are like Line in Asia, Grab, Tada, Rappi in Southeast Asia, Opera MiniPay in Africa and globally now. A lot of these applications can a lot of really, really new and novel use cases can be built in these applications and on top of these applications that are accessing, hundreds of millions and billions of users in aggregate. So I think like if you're a builder and you're thinking about integrating stablecoins and FX, I think there's so many new, cool, novel things that you can do to really, make the lives of consumers and everyday use cases like better and easier.
Last question, we got to ask about yield, earning on-chain yield in global and local currencies. Any things that you're seeing that get you excited on a global scale around creative ways that these builders can, think through incentives and earn yield on these types of things with Mento?
Um, yeah, we're kind of like the low level infrastructure, so we don't play necessarily in the yield game. But on Celo alone, if you check out some of the yield opportunities for our stablecoins, applications such as Uniswap, Aave, things like that, you can actually, I think the APR in some of these stablecoins are upwards of, don't quote me on this, I haven't looked at it in a couple of days, but upwards of 50+%. So there are some great, I would say, yield opportunities on this from, the general DeFi ecosystem. Now, I think the millions of users that we have using Mento stablecoins aren't really DeFi native or crypto native, as some of the listeners here might be, but they're just trying to access this for real world utility. But if you're kind of a DeFi crypto native person, I think you'll find some pretty interesting yield opportunities with these stablecoins on chain.
Cool. All right, well, Denney, thank you for this. We'll close the session here. Any final thoughts to leave the listeners with around Mento? What you guys might be coming out with in the future? Stuff that gets you
Yeah.
excited.
A little teaser, we'll be launching a V3 of the protocol very soon, TM. So keep your eyes peeled out for that. We also just announced our partnership with Wormhole, so Mento will be multi-chain in the very near future. And if you're building any type of applications with FX, reach out. I'm always happy to chat.
Awesome. Well, shout out to those teams. Thank you, Denney, for the time. This was fun.
Amazing. Thanks, Drew. Have a great one.